Hi, it's John. Welcome to my channel, EV Intuition, where I'm helping you understand about electric vehicles. Well, it happened to me again. I got another flat on my 2023 Tesla Model Y long range, this time on a road trip visiting some relatives in New York City. So in this video, I want to share with you my experiences on how I took care of that situation. So let's get started. Before I begin, I want to remind you that if you like the content of my channel, please subscribe and give me a like. Send me any comments you have also. Today, I'm talking about my experience with my 2023 Tesla Model Y long-range flat that I received on a recent road trip in New York City this time. Now, it is the second flat that I've received on my Tesla in the 2.5 years that I've owned it. So I've been kind of unlucky on that part. And if you want to look into my experience with my first flat, click on the link below. But today we're talking about this recent experience. And I was going to New York City, and I was actually arriving in Brooklyn on a Saturday around midday, parking on a one-way street where they have parking on both sides. It's kind of tight. You got to parallel park, and I was pulling in on the right side of the street, backing in when I heard this loud pop. And I go, what was that? Got out of my car, realized I had just run over a glass bottle. So I'd cleared the glass pieces out of the way, finished backing into my spot, but then I heard the hissing, and I knew that I was in the process of having a flat tire. Given that situation, I thought of three possibilities or combinations of possibilities that I could use to resolve my dilemma. And the first one was Tesla, going to their roadside assistance, which I used before. And if you looked at my first flat, that's what I used. The second one was Costco, where I had purchased my tires. And the third option was AAA, which I've been a member for many years, and actually used them also in my first flat experience too. So that's the three options I think I had. And I initially went right to Tesla, and you can do Tesla's roadside assistance right through the phone app, and I did. They respond fairly quickly. They asked me what type of tires, are they original, are they new, what brand are they, etc. And I gave them that information. As you can see on the screen, some of the conversation going back and forth. And once they had that information, they came back with an estimate of what it would take and what they would do. And they were saying they were going to charge me $345 plus tax, and wanted to replace for each tire of the rear axle on which this occurred. Now, keep in mind it occurred on the right rear tire, and they wanted to replace both rear tires for $345 plus tax. Now, I bought my tires brand new at roughly around $300 plus tax. So this was expensive, and plus the tires were practically new. They were only several months old. When I saw that option with Tesla, and I asked them, well, can you repair it? And they said, no, that's the only thing we'd do. I said, well, thank you, but I'll decline your service this time. That left me with just Costco and AAA. Now, I contacted Costco because I knew there was a warranty, and they had something there referred to as a road hazard warranty. And I guess it was good for 60 months, and I've only owned the tires less than 6 months. And so I figured that applied, and I called them, and they said, yeah, we will repair any flat tire that occurred on the road. And it sounded like my situation fell into that category. They mentioned, you just need to get the car to us. And that, the dilemma. And I found out the closest Costco to where I was in Brooklyn was about 8.5 miles away. So I would need to tow it. Now this situation this flat tire occurred about midday, and I think they were closing around 4 o'clock. And they said, you got to get the car there by 2 o'clock in order for them to work on it that day. And I knew that was going to be tight because my option to move the vehicle would be AAA. So at the same time, I initiated the AAA roadside assistance, and they were going back and forth getting the information from me, but it was very slow on the AAA side getting information about when they would show up. And I realized that clearly I was not going to get the car there in time for Costco to work on it that Saturday. Costco told me they were open on Sunday and gave me the hours. But the problem with that is if I dropped the car off that day, I would then have to come back the next day, bring it into them or drive it into them, have them fix it, and then go home. So there was a little more complexity with that situation. While I was talking to AAA, first thing I asked AAA was, can you repair tires instead of just towing me? And they said, no, we don't do that. Now, I've been a member of AAA for probably over 30 years, and I can remember maybe 25 years ago when I had a flat, and it was near my house, they came and just patched the tire with a plug. They just plugged it in, and it worked fine, but I guess they don't do that anymore. They said the only thing they're going to do is tow the vehicle, and they tow it wherever I wanted. And so they were willing to tow it to Costco. And it looks like that was going to be my only option. I had AAA, and finally, now AAA was just long and slow in getting back to me. They said, well, we'll get somebody on the way, and they'll confirm it in a little bit, letting me know it's on the way. Long story short, it took them over 7 hours from when I initially put in the ticket that I got a flat to a tow truck showing up at the location of my vehicle. And it is what it is. Now, I think that's the worst I've ever had with AAA in the response time, but that's what happened. And I was thinking, well, I'll just have them tow it to Costco and leave it there overnight. When the AAA driver came, now they just hire a local tow truck. He came with a flatbed, and the first thing I asked him, I said, do you do tire repairs? Can you plug it? And he goes, no, we're not allowed to do that. I can only tow it. And I go, but he came back to me and said, there is a place about 3 miles from here that's open 24 hours a day, and they patch tires, they'll plug tires. And I said, do you recommend them? And he said, I've taken cars there and it's been no problem. It's been worked out well. Given that, I decided, let's do it. So I had, now the other issue I thought I had with AAA is I had to pull the car out into the street again to get it on his flatbed. He had a ramp that I would just drive up. And I was a little concerned because the tires was totally flat, as you saw in the picture earlier, that I was worried that, it could ruin my rim by driving on a flat tire. And I said, do you have any inflator? And he said, no, we don't have one. The good news is I carry an inflator with me. And given that, I took it out of my car and I put about just 20 pounds of air pressure in that tire, that flat tire, so that at least I wouldn't be driving on the rims when I drove it up to and onto the flatbed. And I'd highly recommend that you have these portable inflator in your vehicle and leave it there. In this case, it came in very handy. The tow truck, I got in the tow truck or the flatbed with the driver. He drove me 3 miles to this 24-hour place. It's a very small place. They work on us, and he had me just pull off the car onto the street. I spoke with the people there. They didn't speak very good English or much English. Maybe there was one guy that spoke a little English, but he understood what I needed. He pulled the tire off, rolled it into the small shop, and you can see a picture of it here. They put it in a little soapy bath to find where the leak was coming from, and found the shard of glass, pulled it out, and then said, yeah, we can repair this. We can patch it with a plug. And it said, be $20. I said, let's do it. He just put that plug in there, sealed it, filled it up with air, made sure there was no leaks, put the tire back on, all within 10 minutes. For $20. I tipped him, and I also tipped my AAA driver for giving me the tip on going to this place, because this saved me a lot of hassle. Didn't have to worry about going to Costco the next day and having them take a look at it. And plus, I had plans for the next 2 days in New York City, so that would have really interrupted those. So I was very happy that this place was able to plug the tire, and that my issue was in the thread of the tire, which I assumed it would be, given I ran over a glass bottle. So that's my experience. It turned out to be not as bad as it could have been. I drove, after getting that plug in my car, I drove back to the place where I was staying in Brooklyn, parked the car again, and I was good to carry on with my activities in New York City that weekend and drive home on Tuesday with no issues. And since that time, I've had no issues with that tire. I've even brought that tire into Costco here locally where I bought the new tires. I had Michelin E-Primacy, and they took a look at it and said, there's nothing we're gonna do with that. The tire looks okay, it's holding pressure, the plug seems to be working. So that was my experience with my flat tire, and I think I learned a couple things from it. If you buy tires, like aftermarket tires that are not from Tesla, it's going to be an expensive repair if you run into a flat, because they're going to force you to just buy new tires, and in my case, 2 new tires. But I declined that. And then the second one is Costco. Now Costco has this great roadside hazard warranty, but they're not going to come to the roadside area. You've got to get the car to them. And in my case, it was difficult to do that since they were closed by the time the AAA truck showed up. And I was fortunate that the AAA driver knew a place in New York City where I could go and just have it plugged, which solved my issue. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something from this experience. I certainly did. And as I continue to drive my Tesla Model Y, I'm hoping for no more flats in the future, but I'm more prepared and more experienced than ever. And I hope this experience has helped you. Take care. I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.